Welcome back to Happy Hunting. This is the series where we take real adversary behaviors and show you how to hunt for them in your own environment. I'm Lee Arkanal, Principal Threat Hunt Account Manager at Intel 471. Today, we're looking at an aggressive ransomware group called The Gentleman. The group first appeared in August 2025, deploying a ransomware variant with the same name. In a very short time, they've hit organizations across 17 countries. They focus heavily on the Asia-Pacific region, especially Thailand, as well as North America. They have also hit networks in India, Mexico, France, and Sweden. The Gentlemen go after various industries, including manufacturing, insurance, construction, and consumer services. Most importantly, they target critical services such as healthcare networks and hospitals. And what makes the Gentlemen so dangerous is that they can learn your network extremely fast. By conducting reconnaissance, they learn what security tools exist in your network and they figure out how to shut them down. And once they're inside and they've shut down your critical services and your security controls, they're going to exfiltrate data and encrypt your network. To catch them, we have to look closely at how they break in, how they disable security tools, and how they manipulate domain privileges to gain control. But the question is, how do they get in? Well, the Gentlemen do not normally rely on phishing emails to get in. Instead, they look for open doors outside your network. The group appears to gain initial access via compromised credentials or internet-exposed services, including VPN or firewall appliances, such as FortiGate administrative access. If they have compromised credentials, getting in is so much easier than having to hopefully infect someone with a phishing email that could possibly get flagged by security control or reported. I mean, having compromised credentials is kind of just having a key to someone else's house. You can just let yourself in the front door. Once they get past the firewall, they do not immediately run the ransomware. They take time to look around and map out the internal network. They use standard network scanners like Advanced IP Scanner to find other machines and look for administrative accounts. To gain higher administrative privileges, they often use a tool or run a tool called powerrun.exe. So during this quest for installation, something that stands out is that once they later deployed powerrun.exe for privilege escalation, it's also worthy to note that the attackers abuse legitimate Windows tools and administrative shares such as NetLogon to distribute payloads across domain-joined machines. So now once they're in your house, or once they get all the information they need, once they've learned your environment, now what they're doing is they're sharing all that fun stuff or payloads that they have in a way that looks normal to your environment. So, and finally, persistence. The Gentlemen maintain persistence via several means. They either manipulate group policy objects to deploy configuration or payloads throughout domain-joined machines, they modify registry settings, adjust remote access, or sometimes they even add users to the machine, which is actually what we're going to hunt for today. The hunt package that we'll be using is titled Users Added to Default Privileged Windows Security Groups. Take a deeper dive into this. Let's see what it's really about. If we take a look at the overview, specifically the description, this package is designed to capture the activities surrounding the execution of command line arguments that add a user to default privileged Windows security groups, local and domain. Well, what does that mean? And what does that really look like? Well, let's take a look at the base query logic to better understand what fields and values we'll be using. So if we come down, we have the query logic, we have the condition, which is user added and to group and priv groups. So all these variables are really all of these, so we're looking for net add in the command line arguments, or any of group or local group, and any of admin's domain admins. So if you combine these in a way, so users added and to group and priv group, basically it looks for anything that's net add to group or local group, and then any of these. So basically a very broad net of looking for anyone using or adding users to any of these domain groups or privileged groups. What does that look like in a tool? Well, let's take a look. So what does that query look like in a tool? Here's our Splunk version of it in my environment. We're looking at the index. And if we remember the query logic that we just saw, we see command line contains net, contains /add, and it contains in, so it's an or, so group or local group, and contains command line administrators or domain admins or DNS admins and so on. So that's our base logic right there, mapped to a Splunk version. You can see our wonderful content developers display the data in such a way that's very useful to us. But what do the findings tell us? We take a look and we see that we have one host name that we caught this activity on. Now this gives us good information. We can see the process chain. We see a bunch of artifacts that we can pivot off of, such as parent processes, parent process IDs, child processes, child process IDs, and command line arguments. So if we take a look, we say, hey, here's the parent parent process, which was command.exe running from the sysfile64 directory. We see also parent process is net.exe, also running from the sysfile64 directory. And then specifically, if we look at the command line arguments, we can see that, yes, we have the net, we have group, domain admins, and so all the criteria is matching here. Now the question is like, well, what would you do? Well, you could do a couple things. You can take the parent process and take a step back to see what spawned it to, travel through root cause. You can take the process IDs and do the same thing where you're stepping backwards or forward using these process IDs. But in this case, what I would do is if I see these users being added to a computer or to a domain or anything like that, my first question is, well, did it log on? Or did that user log in? And if they did, then you really want to track that user and see what they did, because that could be a really, really strong indicator that, hey, you are really compromised because you have this user that was added to all these groups, privileged groups. They have this power, but what are they doing with it? And, of course, check to see if you have tickets or users of that name and so on. But I don't think I know anyone named a malicious user. But either way, this is what we got, and these are the artifacts that we're going to use to pivot. Well, I hope you learned a lot, and thank you for watching this episode of Happy Hunting covering the Gentleman ransomware. Hopefully this video helps you better understand TTPs and behaviors associated with the Gentleman ransomware. Remember, they don't always just come in and smash and grab. They're going to take time to learn your environment, gain persistence, and really make it hurt whenever they do deploy their ransomware. The hunt package we used, user added to default Windows security group. The link can be found in the description of the video. And you can run these queries in your own environment to make sure that your admin groups are tightly secured. Well, thanks again for stopping and watching. I'll see you again. Until next time, happy hunting.